The National Assembly Speaker Thandi Modise has approved a motion by the DA to institute proceedings to remove the public protector from office. Now, this follows a number of negative court judgments against her. The public protector's office has yet to comment, though, as they've not been formally informed. For more on this, we're now joined on the line by our reporter, Bulelani Phillip. Thanks very much for joining us, Bulelani. I suppose this was coming once the new rules had been adopted by Parliament at the end of last year.
Well, good afternoon to you, Peter, and to the viewers. Well, it was a matter of time because the Parliament had already been trying to consider this particular motion that was brought forward by the DA. But of course, when they realized that there was no formal process that is in place in Parliament to actually remove not just the head of the public protector, but also other heads of other Chapter 9 institutions. It was at that point that then they sought to actually, put in place rules that would ensure that those rules, once they're in place, they actually give any of the, accused or Chapter 9 institution heads who are involved in other, malfeasance, that they can be able also to be able to be given a fair chance in a transparent process that will not prejudge, the allegations that have been leveled against them. Now, what this says about this decision that has been actually, approved by the Speaker of the National Assembly is that now Parliament can now continue now with that process that was, put on hold given that there was an absence of rules. Now, what will happen is that they will have to consider this motion, but before the inquiry can be fully fledged, of course, they have to test the allegations that have been put forward in the motion of the DA, whether they warrant or they have merit in bringing those kind of allegations into an inquiry. Of course, the first step that they will have to do is that the Speaker has actually asked all the political parties to actually bring forward the nominations of people who could serve in a 3-member panel of experts who will actually investigate the complaints as well as the evidence that will be put forward by the DA. Once that panel of experts has actually concluded that investigation, they will come and give the Speaker their recommendation on whether this motion warrants further investigation into a fully fledged inquiry. The National Assembly then will have to take a decision whether that kind of, ruling or recommendation by the panel of experts must be put forward to another multi-party committee comprising of all the political parties, where the issues and the allegations will be ventilated and a decision will be put for voting in the National Assembly. Of course, what is required for the removal of the public protector or any other head of a Chapter 9 institution is a 2/3 majority. Peter.
All right, so what has the Democratic Alliance said about this issue? Because they were always against her appointment in the first instance, and they seem to be leading the charge in getting Advocate Mkhwebane removed.
Well, maybe to take you back, I think they were actually quite vehemently opposed in the appointment of Advocate Mkhwebane. But of course, their latest motion is not necessarily driven by this, opposition that they had initially there. It's been driven by these adverse findings that have been leveled against, the public protector in these damning judgments, particularly those that actually settle her with personal costs in court. But of course, you also remember that they've also had a teeth, the public protector as well as the DA, in the issues that were raised by the DA in the interview process, where she has been accused consistently, both in those interviews and outside, that she's a spy, and she's actually on her part actually tried to actually take that particular matter to court. Peter?
All right, so I think you started to give us some timelines about what happens next. February 7, I believe, is a time where the political parties have got an opportunity to nominate their candidates, and then the committee itself has also got a timeline to come up at least with a preliminary report.
Yes, for sure, Peter. The Speaker has given the parties until February 7 to come up with the nominations of those people who will serve in this panel of experts. And that panel has to actually report to the Speaker within 30 days. It's when then a decision of whether to continue with the inquiry or not will be taken. But as to if it does actually happen. Whether how long that will take is really for now anybody's guess. But for now, what we do know that the most pressing issue now is to ensure that this panel of experts is constituted.
I know this is a story that you've been following for a while. Do you get a sense that there's an appetite by other political parties to see the removal of the public protector?
Well, Peter, it's going to be a difficult one to look into the, crystal ball as to whether what parties are saying around the public protector. But from the statements that we've seen, that, the ANC, in the beginning, they had actually tried to shield from all the, what you would call the political harassment that were coming from some of the opposition parties. But as time went on after their appointment, we kind of see that there's not quite that cordiality or, the unison that they normally have in committees. There have been some of the ANC MPs who have tried to protect within those committees, while others maybe felt that the allegations that have been leveled against them do warrant some further investigation. But of course, of late, the decisions that she has taken with regards to some of the high-profile politicians in the country, namely the president as well as the public enterprises minister, does seem to suggest that she may slightly get some support from the EFF MPs, given that, these two are seen to be protected by all of these other processes that have been, ongoing. So the EFF, it's likely that perhaps maybe to a certain extent they may be able to give her the support, but it's anybody's guess for now, Peter.
All right, Bulelani Phillip, that's where we'll leave it. Thanks very much indeed for that update. Of course, that's the news that we're getting today. The office of the Speaker of the National Assembly, Thandi Modise, has approved a motion to initiate proceedings for the removal of the Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. Palesa?